Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, a podcast where Tim and James talk about triathlon. That guy there is James Bale. The man you're listening to right now, or looking on at YouTube, is looking at on YouTube, watching on YouTube, is Tim. Jimbo, mate, welcome back to the podcast. How you going?
Good morning, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Things are good. Things are good. It's mo making my way through the week. Got the standard podcast fleece on because it is the only fleece I own, and I'm ready to talk about some triathlon. My enthusiasm levels are high, mate, as you've already detected.
I was just thinking because I absolutely fumbled that introduction, and like it's the afternoon for me, and it's the morning for you. You're the one. I should be perfect, and I'm absolutely fumbling it. And I do also like the fact that you drew attention to the fleece because for people who are not watching on YouTube, somebody put a comment this week about where can I get the official fleece of the podcast, and I had no idea what a fleece was. I'm saying
Oh, really?
I'm like, what does this mean? What's and I didn't know if it's because we do get a lot of like questionable comments sometimes, and I thought I had to, and I went, I get it now. I get it now. So, Jimbo,
Yeah.
mate, it could be an opportunity. Maybe we should start reaching out to some fleece companies to see if we can get one with that screaming face of yours put on the back of it. And that
I
can be
mean,
what
I
you
can always I'll reach out to Cotswolds Outdoors where I got the fleece and ask them if they want to, for this little bit of
promotion.
interaction we've had, I can see if I can get a sponsorship for the podcast. I'm sure a company of their size would love to sponsor a small triathlon podcast.
Are you excited to hear that there's some progress been made on your tri suit for the French Riviera
I,
T100?
I no. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's as you said, it has actually just been a bit of a. I have had a very triathlon week this week. Uh, One of the things we're going to do, we're going to record a bonus next week, and we're going to do a bit of a what are we going to say, like a fantasy pick sort of who we pick to race Super Tri for us because it's a little bit, I guess, questionable about who is and isn't racing Super Tri this year, and the season's a little bit different. And that's, funnily enough, kind of become my life this week, where I'm very, very, very involved with trying to work out the Crown Racing team for this season. And it has been it's been quite a it's funny that we do so much of the stuff we talk about on the show in isolation, or everything's quite hypothetical, and now suddenly I'm doing it for real. So it's one of those weird intersections where podcast life and real life
But
become
how's
one.
it
But yeah,
looking? How's it looking? What's the
challenging.
landscape like?
Challenging, definitely challenging. I think that I know I won't give away any secrets, but I think we've got like a slightly different approach this year. But I think we got, I mean, of course, we've got some really good name athletes that are going to race for it, but it just requires a little because the season's very spread out this season. It's not like past year, actually, which I like. Like as a fan, I like it because there's a bit of like there's a month between the first two rounds and things because you've got, I think it's Toronto then Chicago, but logistically it makes it a bit challenging because you've got these races that are in North America a month apart than Europe and everything. So in terms of just getting athletes, where athletes come from, it's and then obviously with the WTCS Grand Final is in Wollongong this year down in Australia, which requires a fair amount of travel for athletes, and it's quite close to the final round of Super Tri. So it's just there's a few bits and pieces to it that are it's interesting, but I'm sure we'll be all good. But yeah, it's I was watching Alghero or however you pronounce the Italian race with I had my little notepad out while I was watching it on the weekend trying to spot some athletes that I thought would be a good addition to the team and stuff. But look, we will definitely talk about that race as well as so many other races this week. It seems to be it's a good thing because we don't really have to do too much preparation at the moment because there's just
Oh, the
races. We can
races are
just
coming thick and fast. It's
just
great, isn't it?
talk about
And
races.
they're good races. We've had some good developments this weekend.
Now, before we talk about those good races, I will always say, guys, if you enjoy the podcast and want to support the podcast, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon where you get the bonus monthly show, which we will record in a couple of days. As I said, we're going to talk a lot about Super Tri, and inevitably, we'll probably talk about the T100 a bit as well. Yeah, you also get the WhatsApp group, Strava group, all that good stuff. The WhatsApp group was on absolute fire on the weekend with so many races happening. It was a bit crazy for me because I woke up, all the races happened overnight for me, and I woke up trying not to, I didn't want to have anything spoiled. And there was like 100 and something messages in that WhatsApp group, and I get real OCD when I can see notifications. So I was just like, don't look at your phone, don't
Yeah,
check
yeah.
it.
I was driving back from France across the weekend in various stages, and every time I stopped to charge my car or have a bit of a rest, there was 80 odd messages, and I was just having to sort of completely ignore, so I could do some race catching up when I got back.
Do you know what we should? And I know that this is a triathlon podcast, but I just, again, obviously I'm across this because I am the world's biggest cycling fan, but you being, a bit, you have a past interest in cycling. I don't know if you saw how good the Giro was over the weekend. The
I mean,
penultimate
I
stage was pretty
know how
good.
good the Giro was over the weekend. I haven't watched it because for the first year ever, I can't really watch a huge amount of cycling because I haven't because Warner Discovery has fucked everyone in the UK over, and I'm not willing to pay £35 a month for cycling. Um, so yeah, I've heard it's very good. I've seen some of the clips. I saw what Simon Yates did. Amazing,
Well,
great work.
yeah.
What an attack on that final climb of the Finistra, and yeah.
He's reading
But
notes,
yeah,
guys, by the
if
way,
anybody
because he
from
doesn't know
Warner
what he's talking
Discovery is
about.
listening, anybody from that evil company, go fuck yourselves.
I can't say they're evil for, give me a month, give me just over a month, and I'll decide if they're evil or not because the Superman movie's coming out in just over a month, and I'm very, very, very excited about that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Warner Discovery, I think, is a different arm
Warner's the
than the
parent company, I think, and then
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Warner
got all the
Discovery,
subs-
what they've done is terrible because we've gone from being able to watch cycling for a relatively modest fee to making it just part of their overall sports package and treating cyclists like they don't. Oh well, they'll pay it. If they pay it, they pay it. If they don't, they don't.
Well, you know what? You have done this so beautifully, and I don't know whether it was intentional or an accident, but what a segue, because we are talking about Ironman or triathlon broadcasting. And James Bale, I just want to take a moment to pat ourselves on the back, give us a pat,
Oh, it's all us.
because do you know what we did, mate? Our petition has made things happen. That's right, guys. We are the reason why Ironman have confirmed that Will McCloy, the voice of triathlon himself, will be joining the Ironman broadcast this year, starting at Ironman Cairns in a couple of weeks. This is a win for the real ones, Jimbo. How does it feel? How does it feel to be so influential that we can make the change we want to see in the world? Be the change, make the change, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think those 50 odd signatures that we gathered were obviously the tipping point. They were the point at which the levee had to break, and Will McCoy is now steaming into the Ironman broadcast team to make a difference, and I love to see it, mate. I really do. I think I think he will be a very valuable addition to that broadcast team and bring a certain dynamic to it that they didn't have up to this point.
I just, I love you so much sometimes because I don't know, for people listening, he was a bit distracted while he's talking. And he's like, I love that he's a but you say it so unenthusiastically. It's just like this
I
great
was just finding the
contradiction.
message. I was finding the message that Will had sent us yesterday so that I could confirm what he's doing because he said he's reporting on the course for this one. So
Yeah.
he's not going to be in the booth, doing the commentary, but he's going to be like an
Kind of like what,
on the ground reporter type thing.
what's his, Lieto, like what Michael Lieto,
Yeah, yeah.
Matt Lieto, sorry, Matt Lieto's done in the
So
past.
not playing to his absolute strengths because I think having him in the commentary box is it was the driving force behind the petition. So
Baby
we might have to
steps,
start another one.
baby
But
steps, man.
baby steps, yeah, it's getting there. It's getting towards the point where you actually have some real professional, high quality commentary as part of the Ironman team. And that's what we want.
Now we're on the broadcasting here, and I definitely feel like the broadcast is going to feature a lot in today's discussion because we have three big races from three separate brands in WTCS, T100, and Ironman that we watched. Or I've watched the broadcast of all of them. Do you want to wrap up the broadcast chat at the start and get it out of the way, or do you just want to talk about it as we go through each? Uh,
I mean, no, let's just wrap it up at the start. Yeah,
I
cover
feel
each.
like I feel like the broadcast was really good this weekend, to be honest.
Yeah,
Across the board, I thought everything was. Firstly, I think WTCS did an exceptional job. I felt like the race broadcast at WTCS, the only little caveat was I wish they kept some of the splits up a little bit longer because you'd sort of see the top 9 or 10 and then the gap would be too big and then would vanish. So you wouldn't actually see where the rest of the athletes were. I thought the change in commentary, I'm not sure who replaced Trevor, but the new commentator was great. I thought the shots with the drones and everything was great. I thought the course was great. I thought the racing was great. I really, really liked the WTCS coverage. T100, knocked it out of the park, mate. In terms of an actual broadcast, again, apart from some of the data being a little bit off, that what we missed last year with the clouds and stuff, the shots of athletes with the city swimming behind them, and then the Golden Gate Bridge and the commentary and the it was chef's kiss. Like,
Yeah,
congratulations. I think to me at least, it's probably the best broadcast race we've seen from them so far. I thought it was. I missed Jan Frodeno being in commentary, but I think it wasn't. It's not something that I noticed. And
agreed.
Ironman, much of a muchness. However, I will say, and there is because I did not watch the entire Ironman Hamburg race. I've watched bits of it. I've sort of gone through and watched the key points, but I do want to talk about one spot specific, which was the Laura Philipp Cat Matthews pass, which we'll talk about later in the actual race. But I know that a few weeks ago when we were talking about Ironman Texas, I was extremely critical of the way that they covered the pass, how it was kind of like, oh, it doesn't really matter. And they kind of downplayed Taylor's, oh, she's not really, she's blah, blah, blah. And it kind of felt like they were diminishing what Kat had done. I think that they did an exceptional job of covering the importance and the significance of that moment. And while I was listening at that point, they also had Tim Don, who was doing special commentary. He was excellent, truly, truly excellent. So I think that for me at least, yeah, Iron Man has a lot of ads and stuff, but in terms of I think all three did a pretty good job this weekend, and it's. I know people say, "Oh, I'm always critical." I want to give praise this weekend because I do feel like the race coverage that I watched over the weekend was the best I've seen maybe in a long time in terms of
Yeah,
triathlons. It
agreed.
was good.
I was going to say a very similar thing. I think the T100 broadcast was fantastic. I thought some of
Yeah,
the shots they got really it was kind of like golden hour, and it just looked the sun
amazing.
coming down. Yeah, really, really nice shots. And the Ironman broadcast was better.
Mm.
You know, that's about the best word I can use for it. It was better. It was better than it has been. It wasn't. I too did not watch the whole Hamburg race. Um, I've done a bit of a highlights package when I got back, so I was traveling all weekend. But it seemed at the points at which I've watched better.
Yeah, no, I do. I really feel like yeah. As first, I really did think the WTCS broadcast was like actually good, like a legitimately good broadcast. There, they use lots of drones, some fixed cameras, motorbikes. Like they sort of had everything covered. And again, I know that we talk a lot about the commentary. Again, I felt like the change in commentary was a real positive, and it was actually really interesting to hear them talking about what was happening in the race dynamics. They knew the athletes. It wasn't just like, it wasn't. It just didn't feel purely anecdotal. It actually felt like a well prepared commentary team, and I mean also the fact that the racing was really good. I thought probably lent to it, but no, I'm very very positive. I'm very high on all the race coverage over the weekend, and again, I feel like again we talk about the Ironman stuff and the fact that they've got like Will coming in. I do feel like they are maybe starting to hear the feedback and take it on board because we've seen lots of changes in the commentary. I haven't heard Michael Lovato commentate a race for a while now, and no disrespect to Michael, but I don't think he's very good. It's clearly not his main job. He's not. He's sort of just going in there and doing what he does every week. It's not the fully prepared. He's not doing what a Will McCloy would do. And on Will's story, right, we saw the research and stuff that he's already putting into that race, and he's only doing on the ground comments. I feel like we're seeing an up. So
Yeah,
yeah, no, it
agree. I
was
think
good,
it's moving in
really
the
good.
right direction. Hopefully, triathlon is triathlon, and will that momentum in the right direction continue, or will we just have a complete reset at some point? Who knows? But right now, it's moving in the right direction. Long may that continue.
Absolutely. Now, where do you want to start? We have a buffet of races ahead of us. Where would you I think probably have been a bit more selective in what you've rated. So what do you feel the most excited to talk about? And we can get start there. And again, James Bell excited is very excited.
Yeah,
So
Hamburg. I think Hamburg was the race that
done.
really I enjoyed watching right until the very end. I didn't watch every second of it. Like I said a minute ago, I did a bit of a highlights package for myself. But what an exciting finish to that race. And
What
exciting until the very end, really, with, the swim and the bike were what they were, but with Laura Philipp chasing Cat Matthews in the marathon, initially with that gap being about 37 seconds, I think, and then it extended to about 45 seconds. And then Laura Philipp just upped it and reeled Cat in to take the win at the end.
it was really interesting to watch. And again, the reason I didn't watch the whole thing was the timing, but um I guess, sort of following the tracker and everything, was to see how close. Firstly, the fact that Kat Matthews led out of the swim, bravo. A couple of years ago, if you had told me that Kat Matthews would lead a swim, I don't think I would have believed you. It's definitely always been sort of not that she has a weakness. I think clearly not. She was first out of the water, but really, really good. And I feel like I know there was a lot of talk leading into this event around the record. Kat broke the Ironman, the official Ironman, obviously not overall because of Roth, but the Ironman record. And I know there was a lot of talk about that being the agenda this weekend or in Hamburg as well. And I feel like that was sort of the case because there's been a lot of conversation around the bike in particular, the bike dynamic, because from what I watched, and again, every time I'd skip ahead a couple of minutes on the bike, it was either Kat or Solvay on the front. I never really saw Laura Philipp on the front of the bike. And I've seen people sort of saying that it's, you know, not really fair or whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? I think it's just very, very tactically smart by Laura. But I think I
Yeah, it's
heard
a race, isn't it? You
yeah,
do what you do to win.
I saw Mark Matthews was doing some updates, which I thought were again really great. Talking about the fact that you had Kat who was getting a bit frustrated, maybe that Laura wasn't taking a turn, so she would slow down, and then hoping that Laura would go to the front and do some work, but then Solvay would come through and take over the thing, so Laura just didn't ever have to really pull. And I found that was very tactically brilliant from Laura Philipp. But I also wonder, and this is what I was keen to discuss with you a bit, is if this is what we see, right? With winning a race, it's the first person across the line. That's literally, you could win by 1 second, a meter, it doesn't matter. If the first person across the line wins the race. However, when you're racing a record, it's against the clock, and that clock don't stop for nobody. So I wonder if maybe Kat Matthews, in attempting to not only win the race but try to break the record, couldn't truly slow things down and let Laura take the lead because she was also in the back of her head chasing that record as well. I wonder if the time or the awareness, and again, I don't know, but I do wonder if the pressure of that time record meant that Kat did, she ran a 1:18 half marathon on the first half of that. Like, it's diabolical, mate. Like, it's insane. And I wonder if maybe that was the case, is that record was, so front of mind that it did maybe tactically change the way that she raced. Because, yeah, man, what
Yeah,
can you do?
maybe, maybe,
What
but
can you do?
you've also got to remember these athletes are professional athletes, aren't they? And I don't think that the record would be in her mind's conscious or subconscious would be a priority over winning
Not
that
even if there's a
race.
bonus. I know a lot of contracts have a world record bonus that are quite
Maybe,
substantial.
yeah, maybe,
Imagine
but
you break that twice in 1 year. You collect the world record bonus twice in
yeah,
one
yeah.
year.
I think regarding the frustration because Laura wasn't coming through and taking a pull, I think that's just in the moment race frustration
Mm.
because, you know, in reality, you're not a team out there trying to go as fast as you can as a unit. You're individuals racing each other in the moment, and you're going to do what you need to do to get the best out of you across that. And like you say, you can win by a meter, you can win by a mile. Um, Whatever you need to do to get the best out of you to make your race the quickest to the finish line as possible is what you're going to do. And in that moment, Laura's best chance was to not take those pulls and optimize her run. And that's just a sensible way of racing a race for her. And she's under no obligation to come through and take a pull. She's not there part of the Cat Matthews support team. She is racing her own race, and that's exactly what we saw her do. Um, and we saw that pay off. You know, like you said, Cat Matthews ran a 1:18 half marathon on the first loop of that marathon. Um, she extended the gap to begin with at the start of that marathon from 37 to about 45 seconds, I think. And then Laura Phillips started to reel her in at the end. And I think, if I'm honest, that ability to reel that gap in towards the end, to have that bit more ping towards the end of the marathon, comes down to the fact that she raced tactically on the bike.
Ah, I I fully believe that too. I think that I think this was a tactical masterclass from Laura Philipp. I mean, mate, 2:38 marathon. 2:38 marathon is, it's not that long ago. It's not that long ago where, a female sub 3 hour marathon was a big deal, right? Like the fact that we're seeing them more consistently and stuff. But, Kat Matthews ran a 2:40. Laura Philipp ran a 2:38. Solveig Loveseth on debut ran a 2:46 marathon to finish her first ever Ironman in 8:12. It is, it's absolute insanity, mate. And yeah, I really felt like this was that the way that run sort of unfolded, where they got off the bike pretty much together, and then that gap did start to open up a bit, and then it slowly came back. And credit to Kat Matthews too, that when Laura Philipp passed, she definitely put in a surge, and you saw Kat go with it, and that gap held for that gap got to like 20
Yeah,
seconds and didn't just diminish; it held, and then it snapped, and then the rubber band snapped a little bit. But
yeah, yeah.
what
I
a
mean, you
what
could see
a
Kat was at the
yeah
limit of what she could do, but
yeah.
as they captured that pass moment, like you say, Laura put in a surge because she didn't want to just join her on her shoulder. She didn't want to just ease past. She put in a surge herself to try and put that gap together, to try and break that elastic immediately. Kat matched that pace, like you say, and watching her, it was do or die in that moment, wasn't it? It was like, well, I'm just going to have to try and match this pace, and she did, like you said. The gap was there. The gap eased to about 20 seconds, and it stuck at about 20 seconds. But in the last few kilometers, it kind of it broke. And I think they finished about 2 minutes
2 minutes.
apart come the
Yep, two
end. Yeah.
minutes.
So, but yeah, really brave showing from Cat Matthews to a real racer.
Do you know the other thing that was just again diabolical to me was after Laura Phillips, finished the race, broke the record, run a 2:30 at marathon. She's straight back out running down the finish chute, high five in the crowd. I'm thinking, fucking hell, you are too fit. This is actually crazy. No,
When I
it's
was watching my little self-made highlights package, I was skipping bits of the race and just finding bits to watch, and I must have accidentally skipped past her winning, and then I just saw her coming back in down the finishing straight, and I was like, they didn't put the tape out for her.
that was instant, man. Like she finishes, and I reckon within 30 seconds she's back out there. You've just run a 2:30 at marathon. Chill.
Yeah.
Like take a moment to relax. No, it was. I mean, the other thing, as I said before, right? Solveig Loveseth, Ironman debut, doing that on like that is an athlete. I saw the Iron Memes account did a brilliant one where it was like the Christian Gustav like come join us on the Norwegian hype train, because I feel like a lot of women are going to be thinking, Jesus Christ, she's done that on debut. And I think we know that it takes a little while for athletes to really sort of build into it. Like she is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And if she goes to Kona, I think Solveig Loveseth, with that sort of same ability to race well in heat that the Norwegians seem to have, suddenly it's a name that we need to be thinking about uh, for later in the year in Hawaii. One of the things we've spoken about, though, was around the Cat Matthews going into Hawaii at this point in time as the absolute favorite based on how she raced Taylor Knibb in Texas and what we've seen her do. Laura Philipp, you know, what do we, in terms of Kona this far out, what is it sort of,
Oh, we've
where's your
got a
head
race
at?
on our hands, haven't we? That's the exciting thing. We've got athletes here who have the ability to take that race right until the dying moments of the marathon, and that could mean we're in for a really exciting Kona because the Cat Matthews and Laura Philipp alone are matched on the swim enough to be close enough to each other to have a similar bike and then to have a run like this.
I'm very, if you look at the moment for me, if we had to look at the women, there's four, there's four big names that I think are the favorites in Kona at the moment. I'd say there's probably two that are probably slightly ahead of the other two, but I'd say the four women to watch in Kona at the moment, and again, nobody's going to be surprised to hear these four: Taylor Knibb, Lucy Charles, Kat Matthews, Laura Philipp. And it's been very interesting to see the different approaches of the different athletes, where Taylor Knibb doesn't race Singapore, goes to Texas, no offense, gets smashed by Kat, smashed, like really, really, beaten. Lucy Charles goes to Singapore. I think she podiumed in Singapore. I can't remember. Top five, did well, had a relatively good race. Far off the pace of Kate Woff, but still, a good race. Goes to Lanzarote, solos the whole thing by herself, ticks the box, wins by 20 minutes.
She
Good
didn't
race.
finish in Singapore, did she?
Lucy Charles.
Yeah, I thought she DNF'd.
No, that was Anne Haug, wasn't it? Can you look it
Oof.
up while I'm talking?
Oh
Because I'll
yeah,
keep.
yeah, yeah.
Then you've got Kat Matthews who's gone out and raced. So Kat's already raced Taylor Knibb, beaten her. She's already raced Laura Philipp. She's already broken the course, the Ironman world record. She's then cut the broken her own record and had it beaten by Laura Philipp. Then you had Laura Philipp who's come out and raced Kat Matthews and beaten the course. So we have Lucy taken very much what seems to be a kind of different approach where she isn't going to, she's obviously just done that Ironman, wants to tick the box, go through it. The others are clearly pursuing the Pro Series. I'm fascinated about what it is actually going to be when we come to Kona and see all four of them together because you how you would imagine it is you're going to have Laura and Taylor with a bit of a gap over Kat and Laura. They aren't bad cyclists. You could probably see Taylor Knibb riding away from Lucy. Lucy, maybe going with Taylor or not losing heaps of time. Then having maybe Kat and Laura get off with a bit of a gap. She came third. Yeah, okay. So there. Audio listeners, James put up three fingers to indicate she came third. Yeah, I'm very interested to see how it's actually going to unfold because I feel like just based purely on the landscape, I've sort of forgotten Lucy a little bit, which is maybe by design. Maybe she is sort of. I mean, I think it's very apparent that Lucy's all in on Kona. That's why she did
Yeah.
Lanzarote so far out. She's not going to do another Ironman. Uh, and we'll talk about Taylor Knibb a little bit when we talk about San Francisco. But I mean, at this point in time, I think Laura Philipp could be defending her title and winning the whole thing
Yeah, I
again, just
mean, we
based on
had
this.
a hell of a race in Kona last year for the men's, and we could be staring down the barrel of a race for the ages for the women as well. We've got, like you say, those names that you mentioned all coming into this race from slightly different angles. Um, Laura Philipp Cat Matthews matchup is something to be savoured, and then
Imagine Iron
put
War.
Lucy Charles. Yeah, put Lucy Charles Barclay in there, who will be off the front on the swim. She'll be able to command that lead on the bike, I assume, and then they'll be reeling her in on the run. It could come down to a really exciting finish.
That's what I mean. Imagine you've got Taylor Knibb and Lucy Charles up the road and say they've got, I don't know, a couple of minutes over Laura and Kat who are running side by side. And you end up with a point as they're coming out of the energy lab, all four of them together. Far out. That would be so good.
Yeah, it could be. It could, and then it comes down to, you know, who's strongest in that moment.
Again, back to Hamburg because we're going to wrap things up. Again, I'm sorry. I know I get a little bit excited about speculating. Elsvis took a wrong turn and got DQ'd, and Jackie Herring also had a mechanical and DNF'd. I think I saw that it was the first time she's not finished a race. So lots of interesting stuff. But again, the gaps were huge, like crazy huge in that Hamburg race, which is something we seem to see in these races. So Solai was 9 minutes back, and Reichman was fourth, was 30 minutes behind, or 29 and a half minutes behind Laura Phillips. So the top three are within 10 minutes and then 30 minutes. Uh, like I said, then you've got, yeah, there seems to be a few people, so a few people didn't finish, but yeah, really, really, really interesting racing out of Hamburg. The rain absolutely pissed it down at the back end of the run. They were running through torrential rain at the end. But yeah, well done to everyone involved. And Laura Philipp, new Ironman world record holder. Kat Matthews had it, but not for very long. And it's certainly, yeah, as I said, making Kona really exciting.
Bang on, bang
What's
on. Where
next,
are we
mate?
going now?
Let's talk about T100 San Francisco.
Yeah, man, let's do that. Let's do that. Where women's or men's
T100.
first?
Let's talk about the men's race first because I have less to say about it.
Oh, Bogan though.
Mate,
Bogan, mate.
what a legend. What
What
a
a
legend.
legend.
I
What a
uh
legend.
I
Rico
wouldn't have
Bogen
picked
took the
this.
win ahead of Yella Gaines in second and Mika Newton third. My prediction of Yella Gaines coming second, I'm happy with that. Um, Carl Smith in fourth and then Jamie Riddle in fifth. But yeah, Rico just had his race, didn't he?
Mate. And not like compared to last year where it was that full and battle, he just dominated. He just went on the bike, rode the house down, like rode the house down, and then just ran along, won the thing. It was a masterclass. Well done. Again, very
Yeah,
similar
so
to what we
about
saw with
halfway on the bike,
Aiden.
Rico took the
So
lead and then just kept that lead. And I think it was a different kind of race than we've seen from him before. We've seen him be up the front before on the bike and just attack, attack, attack. And I think he looked a bit more measured in this one. He looked like he was not conserving his effort, but measuring his effort a little bit better, using that energy that he's got across that time span that is the race a little bit more effectively. And you can see that it paid off.
mate, like just looking at the splits, right? He rode a 154.50 and everyone else is 157, 157, 156, 157, 2, 2, 2. Like he rode minutes into everyone. Like minutes.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, it just and again on a course that I wouldn't have necessarily thought suited him either, because he's not a small guy. Rico's quite a big boy.
And his swim was matched with everyone that came out. His bike was considerably faster than everybody else's, and his run was on par. I mean, he didn't run. He ran a minute slower than Yella Gaines, but he more than had that in the bank after the
Yeah,
bike. Everyone else ran slower than him. He was an hour 40 on the run, which is fine.
40 seconds, everyone. Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
it was
sorry, an
fun. It
hour
was
40. Yeah, an hour 40
it was
seconds.
funny though because the first moment when I watched the race start for the men and I saw them all get out of the water together, I had this moment going, "Holy shit, Sam Long's in the group!" Like, it's finally happened. Sam Long's made the front group, but this is his day. And then I was watching the thing and there was no Sam Long, and I went, "Oh no, he's gonna." Don't tell me Sam Long's gonna be like 5 minutes. It took me a good moment to remember because it was very early when I was watching this. It took me a good couple of minutes to remember that he wasn't racing, and then I thought, firstly, if he was racing, would he have made that group? Because it seemed like everybody else did. So I don't know that he would have, but if there was a possibility that he would have, how much do you reckon he was kicking himself that he wasn't there for this tide assisted swim where everybody like literally 19 athletes got out of the
Mm.
water together? I did see that and think, shit. I wonder if he's kicking himself a little bit because he missed out on
Fucking
that.
quick swim, innit?
Fuck, man.
16:46,
2K.
16:44, 16:48. Yeah. I
But
mean, Christ.
how good did it look with San Francisco behind them? Like legitimately, that shot with the city behind was.
Yeah.
We talked about the Paris course looking good, obviously very different, but in terms of an actual swim, that was got to be one of the better swims I've seen in terms of the visual. It looked phenomenal. Any specific performances you want to talk about? They don't have to be all good. They can be some interesting ones.
I mean, not
Uh,
really. I know that's not great podcasting. Rico Bogen, I just think, it's really good to see him have that win. Um, I mean, Martin Van Riel not having the day that we expect from that athlete. Obviously, just not his day today or that day. Um, but I just think, we're missing some interesting names on this one as well. Like you say, Sam Long wasn't there. It's a shame when he's not there because he does animate the race as he comes through it. But yeah, great for Rico to see him get the victory that he got.
I will talk about a few performances just because there's a lot of things that I was interested in. The first was Morgan Pearson. I'm very keen to see how he goes at his first sort of T100 race. Like he finished. What did he finish in? Eighth place. You know, didn't run as fast as Rico Bogen. Was over a minute behind Yellow Gaines. I think I probably expected a bit more from Morgan, but again, I don't fault him. It's early days for him, and again, probably not a course that super suits him. Still, really, really keen to see what he's about. Vincent Louis, I'm really starting to like. Have I just been wrong?
Where's Vince?
Has my perception of
Yeah.
Vincent Louis been wrong this whole time? Because I did not expect him to have such a weakness on the bike. Like he rode it, he was the 15th fastest bike split. Uh, the best dressed on course. Like Jesus Christ, he looked
Yeah,
good.
without question, the best dressed on
But
course. But how
I'm
long can you
um
maintain that best dressed on course approach if you're not getting the results?
I'm not expecting him to do very well in Roth based on this. Like
No.
I have this feeling that he could be up there for the swim and maybe if he holds on with the lead motos and stuff. But yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we're going to see another sort of no disrespect to Alistair Brownlee, but another guy who's maybe left that run a little too late to fully go across to short course, to long course, sorry, because I mean, genuinely, if you had told me at the start of this year, I really would have expected Vince to feature and do quite well at T100. It's two races now. I thought maybe Singapore was the heat. It doesn't seem to be. I think he maybe is just not that good on the TT bike. And yeah, I don't know what this means. It's
Cool helmet, though, wasn't it?
fuck, man. Let's not talk about the helmet. Cool kit. The whole outfit was good. Uh, the other one that I'm going to talk about is Jake Boatwhistle. I'm going to stop picking Jake Boatwhistle for podiums because
I'm glad you've
boys let
come
me
round
down.
to the light side on
Boys
that
let me
one.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
not very good. And again, Kenshin, a guy that I also expect to do really, really well at middle distance, was way off the pace. Like he rode a 210 basically
Jamie
compared to
Riddle got a
people.
penalty as well, didn't he?
He did for gear outside the box. I mean, I have to talk about Jamie. Really, really well done. Fifth place for Jamie with a penalty. He was in the
Yeah.
mix. Really one of the second fastest bike split. It was funny. I was talking to somebody post race about this because I think in the lead up to South Africa, I'd said I expect Jamie to really rip the race apart in terms of the swim and bike, and we'll see what happens with the run. And he sort of didn't. He sort of just I wonder if he did go into it a little bit conservative because again, I think of Jamie Riddle as a very, very strong swim biker. And then I saw this, I'm like, oh, thank God I was right. Like that, he is what I think he is. But mate, running the fact that okay, he ran out maybe a bit slower, but he did have a 30-second penalty. So we're looking at a
Yeah,
10, 102.
102.41 on the run.
Really, I'd love to see this is a guy give him another wild card. I saw him put up a post today on Instagram saying he wants another wild card. Give
Yeah,
him
because
one.
that I mean that 30-second penalty isn't a 30 seconds penalty, is it? Because it's going to take them the slightly dampen your run in. You're going to have to warm back up again as you start to run off. You're going to lose a bit of momentum. So I mean, I would say it's more of a 45 second to a minute penalty, really, in
Which
terms
would
of
put him
impact.
close to the podium, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get Jamie Riddle back on a start list. And again, don't forget that the swim was kind of neutralized at this race. So I feel that if there is a race with a harder swim, Jamie's naturally going to get that advantage because he's such a strong swimmer. Anyone else that I really want to talk about? No, I mean, I was disappointed to see Bididos withdraw. I was very keen to see his run. I still don't really know what happened, but I guess we'll live to fight another day. Men's race was like, again, it was kind of a boring race. Like Rico was just off the front. It was very similar to what we saw in Singapore with Hayden. I think even having Hayden there would have definitely made things a bit more interesting with those two again, but I feel like we probably would have seen something similar to Singapore. So yeah, off the lead, the race was interesting, but just at the front with Rico being so dominant, it was just like the Taylor Knibb race there last year. So um,
Talking about Taylor Knibb,
women's race.
this was an exciting race. I enjoyed this race a lot. Um, I enjoyed watching the dynamics shake out, and for Julie Derron to take her victory like that to show that we're not living in a world where Taylor Knibb is unbeatable.
Mm.
Because there was a moment in the race where it looked like it was going to play out that way. Obviously, the swim happened. Jess Learmonth led out of the swim, and then Nib did what she did did what she does in the swim, and then made her way through the field on the bike, taking the lead. And it was at that point in the broadcast I was watching that I thought, right, well, Nib's just going to disappear now into the distance, and that's going to be that. She's going to build up an unassailable lead, which she didn't manage to do on that bike, putting Julie Derron in striking distance, and for her to be able to take the lead on the run and take the victory. So Julie Derron in first, Taylor Knibb in second, Kate Woff in third, Paula Finley in fourth, and Holly Lawrence on a comeback race, getting a really, really strong fifth place, and that was great to see.
It was really great to see Holly Lawrence back. Yeah, mate. Again, I touched on this. I don't know. I'm interested to see what's going on with Taylor Knibb because similarly what I was saying earlier, at the start of this season, I thought she was going to win it all this year. I thought she'd win the T100 easily. I thought she'd win every Ironman. I thought she'd go to Kona. I thought she'd win it. And it doesn't feel like this is the Taylor Knibb we're used to seeing at all. Like it's sort of similar to Martin Van Riel, right? Just a little bit off. And I don't know why. I heard somebody was saying that she made a comment about she's trusting a coach, so maybe this is a longer sort of term approach to Kona. But I mean, she only put a minute and a half on the bike into Julie Derron. And
Still the fastest bike split of the day
yeah,
with 2:10:20, but like you say, ahead of Julie's 2:11:38. Um, Julie's and Taylor's swims were identical, 16:26. And then for Julie to run a 1:06:37 compared to Taylor's 1:09:35, that's where the difference was made. And watching Julie run like she did, that's a class run effort, mate. It really is.
oh mate, Julie Derron again when she's on, I think she's phenomenal. We've seen her do that a few times now. Again, let's talk about some of the other things. There was a lot of talk in the lead up to this between the Kate Woff, Taylor Knibb head to head. Sort of went how I imagined it to go. And again, no disrespect to Kate. I feel like this is sort of what I anticipated. I don't think I anticipate Julie Derron to be ahead of Taylor Knibb, but I thought that Taylor would have her number. I
Yeah,
mean, she
but for
still ran.
Kate, the brilliant thing about this that narrative is, yes, in this first race matchup, she didn't have the measure of Taylor Knibb, but the podium finish shows
Yeah.
that result she had wasn't a one-off. It
Mm.
wasn't
Oh,
some
definitely. Sorry, I'm not. Yeah, don't
Yeah,
want to
it
suggest
wasn't some
that.
abnormal result. She's shown that she's backed it up and she's got some real talent over this distance.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, definitely, definitely, definitely. Paula Finlay, I maybe would have expected to see her be a little bit stronger on the bike just because of her cycling pedigree, but I still think a fourth place is really good. You said it, Holly Lawrence back, incredible. Ran,
Really lovely to see. Really lovely to see. To see her enjoying that finish
yeah.
that much, and then as she crossed the line to go and get a cuddle from her little one was yeah, that made brought a smile to my face. That did.
Now, I think I saw on social media that Jess Lemont's had a run injury, or there's been something that means she hasn't been doing
Yeah,
much
she's had
running.
a calf tear.
Yeah, so that explains it. But once she gets it sorted, I think she's going to be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I saw her put a post out on Instagram saying being able to manage the race like she did and get to the finish like she did was a result in itself because I'm paraphrasing, obviously,
Mhm.
because she's had this calf tear. Um, but yeah, man, when she hasn't got a calf tear anymore, she's going to be up there in the swim. She's strong as hell on the bike, and she's going to be able to run like she used to. I think she's going to be out of all the people who could really take it to Taylor Knibb over a season. I think Jess Learmonth is the one.
I fully agree with that. I couldn't agree with you more, actually. The other one I want to talk about is Ash Gentle, an athlete that 2 years ago was the chosen one of T100, and we've sort of seen not really feature. I mean, ran a 109, rode a 220, 17:36, over a minute back out of the swim. I was taught again. I have this theory with Ash Gentle, and I wonder. I'd like to get your opinion on this because Ash Gentle is an incredible athlete who had a lot of success early on. But when she was at short course, if you had to say that there was a particular weakness that Ash Gentle had, it was the swim. Do you think the fact that we're seeing these races now with such strong swim bike front packs, you've got the Jess Learmonts, you've got the Taylor Knibbs, you've got the Kate Woffs, you've got those people at the front who Lucy Charles as well. You put them all in there together, so it's not just like a single athlete. You have this group of athletes driving the swim and then pushing the bike. Are we going to see what happened to Ash, where she was? Yeah, she still had some good WTCS results, but she wasn't dominating the way she was early days in T100. Do you feel like maybe that's what's happened? Is that same deficit that she would have, or that same obstacle she'd have to overcome at short courses, now sort of caught up with her at T100?
I mean, yeah, we could be starting to see the dynamic denting her skill set a little bit. Um, I think this is a very unique race because of the tide assisted nature of the swim. If you are a good or a good enough swimmer to really capitalize on that, then you're going to be if there is any deficit at all in that swim or you're not that confident, then getting in a water like that and it could. I think this what I'm trying to say is this is quite a unique race to judge that on.
Yep. Okay.
You know, I'd like to see that play out a little bit more. But yeah, I think you could be right. There could be something there.
I just look at her run though. She ran a 109, seventh fastest run. But you have, Daniela Kleiser ran a 105. You've got Taylor Spiver running a 107. Holly Lawrence 108. Paula Finlay 109. Kate 108. Julie 106. Like she's not even.
No,
I
I
would
mean
have.
it could have been an off day though, because
Yeah.
if you look at a bike as well, a 2:20:33, which is 15th fastest, 7th fastest run, 14th fastest swim, uh, it doesn't equate to a good day, that one.
Again, I know purely hypothetical, but if we find that Ash Channel is in a point where she sort of isn't able to race the way she has in the past because of that swim, do you think that could be the catalyst that sees her step up to Ironman? Because at Ironman, the swim, yes, it's important, but it is not as important as it is at the shorter stuff. Do you think that's good? This could
I
be the
hope so.
catalyst that sees. Yeah,
I'd
mate,
love
so
to
do
see
I.
a race Ironman, yeah.
100%, definitely. Yeah, I just want to say one other thing because Vancouver is soon. I am so keen to see Mike Kima go to Vancouver. I really wish that it was this race that we saw Maya in, based especially on what we'll talk about next. But no, I thought the women's race was much better. Again, the broadcast was exceptional. You can't ask for more, I think, in terms of, again, a little bit of the stats and stuff. But I think the T100 in a really, really good place in terms of the broadcast. That race location was exceptional. I mean, I love that course. I love the scenery of it. I love the challenge of it. I love the climbing. I thought it was brilliant. I just think the gaps are a bit. That's just the nature of the racing, right? When you got 20 athletes on field, it isn't going to be the same sort of racing we see when there's 60, 70, 80. So well done, T100. It's a huge step for me in a positive direction.
Agreed. Agreed, mate.
Okay, it's time. It's time to go to Italy, to the island of Sardinia. Where was that race held in Italy, Jimbo?
Alghero, I think.
Alghero. Alghero.
Alghero.
I don't know how to say it.
I'm not the best with Italian
Alghero.
pronunciations, but yeah, it was there. It happened. This was the one race I didn't manage to watch. I do have the synopsis in front of
Ah,
me. I'm assuming you watched them.
I did, and this was my favorite. The women's race in Alghero was my favorite race of the weekend. I I loved this race. Like really, I had such a good time watching this race. We'll start with the women, obviously. It's probably a good natural place to start. I mean, what do you, Cass? She's back. The crash in Yokohama hasn't dented her confidence. She was, in that
Yeah, I
pack
mean that crashed, and then she had a sickness bug. Um, so she said she almost didn't race
start.
because she said in the morning she didn't know if he was racing. She called her coach and said, "Do you think it's worth it? I only trained 2 days last week. I was coming back from the crash, and then I got a virus, and everyone got after Yokohama. I was in bed all last weekend, but I love what I do, and I just wanted to give it a chance because I was so upset after my crash in Yokohama. The people who are around me know why it means so much to me." So going from almost not racing because your confidence has been doubted by a crash and then a virus to taking the win like that is, yeah, remarkable. But it also shows an insight into Cassandra, I think, and how her mindset is delicate
Yes.
and how much confidence and momentum means to her because, you know, to be that concerned about whether you're even going to race or not and then to be able to win shows there's a huge deficit between how you're feeling and the reality of a situation.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I completely agree, and that was probably why I was concerned about what we were actually going to see. I wanted to see how she bounced back, and again, as I said, I think brilliantly. This race was so good. This course was absolutely brilliant. This is one of the best WTC courses I have seen in so long. And look, I'm not talking like it's not like Kitzbühel or we're not talking about the super big climbs, but there were climbs, there were technical sections, there was cobbles. It was uh, this is the sort of course I want to see for WTCS. Plus, it was in fucking Italy and the islands. It was beautiful. No, this race was great. We saw that front group, which a lot of the names you'd expect, the Cassandras, the Emma Jeff Coates, the Mike Kingmars, Saragini, the Italian. I think I'm probably absolutely butchering the pronunciation of that. At the front of the race, and then that front group just worked together. I think Cassandra and Maya actually got out with a small gap to the lead group and worked together. And I mean, genuinely, the two of them worked together to bridge up. And then that front group just continued to put more time into the chase group. And that chase group had Leonie Perriot, Jean Lehair. Summer Rappaport was on the front group at first, and then she dropped off and she went back to the chase group because the pace was on so much. But I feel like the front of the race was really driven by two athletes in particular, and that was Mike Kingmar and Emma Jeffcoat. They really took the bull by the horns and ripped that bike course a new one because they got off the bike with a 2.5 minute gap. And then you had this really interesting dynamic where Cassandra ran off the front. Sorry, and Olivia Mathias was there as well. And then you had the group of, I think, five or six off the front with that run power of Jean Lehair, Leonie Perriot, and Lisa Tersch in the chase group, getting off with that 2.5 minute gap and watching how the race was sort of going to go. So you had Emma sort of drop off, and I think it looked like Maya might have dropped off. She came back, she finished fourth, but you had that those three just constantly running through. So you had this really exciting race, and even in the front, Cassandra was ahead of again. I think it's Saragini off the top of my head. Do you have the results there?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it
I've got the
Saragini?
top five. I've got the top five. It
Who
was
finished second?
Beaugrand in first, Bianca Serigini in
Yep,
second,
perfect. So
Olivia
Saragini.
Mateus in third, Maya Kingma fourth, and Leonie Perrault
Yeah.
in fifth.
So Saragini, I'm probably butchering it. I'm really sorry, but that gap to Cass never blew out. She was sort of always within sort of touch until the end. It got a bit obvious, but even for Olivia Mathias, really great race. She did really well at Super Trail last year. Yeah, it was a good race. It was very, very, very entertaining. And again, even though Cass got off the bike and sort of ran away, it never got ridiculous. Like we didn't see that huge gap. And the way that they were showing the race and showing what was happening behind, it was entertaining the whole time. So I really feel like this was a really positive race. I mean, you could see a bit of the frustration, I suppose, on athletes like Jean Lehair and that who were on that chase group. And the chase group was huge, and they couldn't work together to bridge up to that front group because that
It's
front
the
group were
Taylor's oldest
working.
time, though, isn't it, for a chase group of that size? Gwen Jorgensen got a flat as well, which ended
She got lapped out. Yeah.
her competitive nature in the race, and then she was lapped out in the end. But yeah, that's
Mm.
a tale of oldest time with the chase group that size, with a high quality bikers at the front working together. It's very
It show,
difficult to organize a chase like that.
and that's why I wish we saw it more in men's racing, right? Like I just feel like it's just not something we ever really see in them. It just doesn't, it doesn't really seem to come that way, and it just shows that when they do it, they can do. I mean, it did happen. There's more to the men's race than there was in the women's, but no, phenomenal. As I said, I think that Cassandra is going to probably maybe take even more confidence from this. I think that the drop from Yokohama, but the fact that she's bounced back the way she has will probably fuel her confidence even more. And yeah, it was anybody who has a subscription, I really recommend watching this race if you haven't already. Put it on while you're on the trainer. If you don't have a subscription, there's highlights available online. But this was a good one. This was a really really good race.
Yeah, and it leaves the standings after three races with Lisa Tersch leading ahead of Jean Leher. Lisa Tersch has got 2,282.82 points after three races.
Why?
I don't.
What's the point? What's the point something for? I'd love to know.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? The way they do their points to make it just so it's just it's just not easy.
Now, I feel like I've done a lot of talking, and I actually am going to ask you to do me a favor. Can you actually give us the synopsis for the men's race? Because I watched it, but I'm struggling to remember it as well as I was very captivated with the women's race. So could you give us the synopsis for the men's race, and we'll have a bit of a chat about that?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I didn't manage to watch these WTCS races, but looking at the results, it was Matt Hauser who came out, who led the swim, came into T1, 20 seconds, covered the top 30, and all the favorites were in there. Berger put the hammer down on the bike, um, and then who led into T2? I don't know. Just as hang on a second.
I thought you had a summary. Do you not?
Yeah, I've got a summary in front of me, but it's not got names. It's not very good. By the time they're back in T2, it all stayed steady, and surely the medals would be coming from the nine. There were nine people coming into T2. Hidalgo was a class apart on the run and ran away from everybody. There you go. There's your summary.
Thanks for that.
No worries.
I know there was a lot of crashes in this race, so I think that again there was a bunch of crashes which sort of limited the group's ability to bridge up. I think it was something like three crashes in 3 minutes. But Hidalgo winning, Hidalgo has been one of those athletes that's been right up there at so many events already this year. So good to see him get that win. And then Hauser, mate, just continuing to be right up there in the mix at
Yeah,
all
I think that's
times.
the takeaway for me. I mean, Hidalgo getting his first victory, brilliant, good work, very strong on the run, ran away from everybody. But Hauser in second place and running away from Willen, it's just a real consistency he's got, isn't it? He's either winning or he's right up there, and he's building a gap in the championship standings and just putting in race after race after race. Um, Yeah, I was very impressed. So it was Miguel Hidalgo in first place, Matt Hauser in second, Leo Berger in third, Luke Willen in fourth, and Charles-Barclay in fifth. And the overall rankings have Matt Hauser winning at the moment with 2,618.75 points, ahead of Miguel Hidalgo, who's on 2,227.45. And then you've got Masco Velasco and Leo Berger. The Hauser's building a gap. It's difficult to understand how impressive that gap is when their point system is quite as diabolical as it is. But looking at the consistent results Hauser's had, it shows how strong he's been.
Yeah, I think it's also like the fact that it's a minute between first and third in that men's race as well. You don't often see that at WTCS racing. Normally the gaps are, 10 seconds. So I think yeah, really, really interesting. Again, I just want to emphasize WTCS Alghero was absolutely brilliant. So I think anybody who's interested should definitely check that out. Now, the next race I want to talk about, I don't actually really want to talk about the race itself so much. We will go through the results. That is Ironman Brazil, but I'm guessing you know the reason that I want to talk about this race. Do you have an idea why I want to talk to you about this race, Jimbo?
No,
Or is this going to be a complete surprise for you?
it's going to be a surprise for me.
All right, well, I'll go through the results. Pamela Oliveira won the race in 8:46.17 with the fastest run, fastest swim. Fiona Moriarty in second place with the 9 hours 13 minutes, and third place Rachel Olsen 9:16.16. In the men's race, Luciani Tacconi won with 7:31.46. Second place was Manuel Messias dos Santos with a 7:37.11, and third place Federico Scarabino with a 7:52.47. Now you
I
might
know why
think
you want to talk about this race.
7:31 is a pretty fast overall time, and you'd be right. That is a very good Ironman time. However, the man who came second, 6 minutes behind the leader, ran a 2:26.50 marathon for the fastest ever marathon in an Ironman race. That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
ridiculous.
amazing. It really is. It's remarkable, and not just as a runner who's survived the swim and done a bike and then executed a hell of a run, but to be second place. What a day!
I mean, looking at the way the race unfolded, it was definitely one on the bike because Luciani Tacconi rode a 4 hour flat compared to a 4:16 from Messias. So, mate, you're still, you know, you're not going to be able to run that big a gap, and he still ran at sub 2:40, which is actually, to be honest, right? This is the crazy thing after this weekend. Laura Philipp ran a 2:38. So suddenly I look at it like if I look at a 2:37 in a men's race, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's some decent running. But now I'm going to be going, oh, Laura Philipp ran a 2:38 in Hamburg. Maybe it's, yeah, I actually think that this weekend in racing has been quite significant. Like, I feel like there's been a number of these barriers broken, right? We've got the new Ironman world record. We've got Laura Philipp who's run that sub 2:40 marathon, but now we've got Messias who's run a 2:26.50 marathon. I think we all expected it was probably going to be a Patrick Langer or a Christian Blumenfeld who was the first one to go 2:30. He's not just gone just under it, mate. He's gone, 3 minutes, 10 seconds under that mark. This sport is moving so quickly at the moment. It's actually crazy. Actually crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Everything's just getting faster and faster and faster. I feel like my moment might have passed, mate. I think finally, it's
I'm
never
sorry
going to
to
happen for me now.
sorry to say that to you, mate, but I think you might be right. Let's just do a little quick wrap up then, because there's a few other races to talk about. We had it was 70.3 Loire Valley. In first place, you had Casimir Moyoni. Can you actually do the pronunciations of these ones for me? Because your French is a little bit better than mine.
Casimir Moyne, I
Yep.
believe, and
Okay.
then Dylan Marien in second place, and Daniel Beckergaard in third. And in the women's race, India Lee, great to see India getting a victory. Emily Mourier and Justine Mathieu from France.
Good to see Daniel Beckergaard back on the podium. I'm very, very happy
Yeah,
about
good
that.
to see that, and also booking his place in 70.3 Worlds as well, which is what he spoke of after the race.
Yeah. So the last thing I just want to touch on, and again, just a quick little last thing to wrap up this week. The Ironman Austria start list is out. So just some names: Dennis Chevreau, Michael Weiss, Clement Mignon, the Filet himself, Joe Skipper, Cam Worth, as he is on every other start list, Josh Lewis, Jason Pohl, David Pleasure, Guy Crawford. Interestingly, anyone else that is worth noting? Nope, I think that's it. So that race is coming up in a little less than 2 weeks, and Challenge Roth is getting close as well, mate. And again, I think that after what we saw Vincent Louis do over the weekend, yeah, I'm certainly not as certain about what's going to happen at that race.
I'm intrigued by it.
I am too. I am too. Mate, plenty of stuff to come up in the next few weeks. And
Yeah, it's
again,
exciting
Cairns,
time in the sport.
Cairns is around the corner as well, which is the next stop in the Pro Series race. I'd give the start list, but I don't have that available. But no, it's a good time to be a fan of triathlon. Jimbo, if you're a fan of triathlon, where do you go if you want to hear more of this? I don't know what
If
that
you want
was.
to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T14 on Instagram. I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We're also on Instagram at Talking Triathlon. And if you join the Patreon group, you'll get access to the monthly bonus episodes, the social group, and we'll put you in the WhatsApp group, which keeps everybody informed as to what's going on all the time. If you're not in the Patreon group and you want to reach out, then the best place you can do that is putting a comment on the YouTube video.
I agree.
And
I
if you
also
want a
realize you
fleece,
do.
go to Cotswolds Outdoors.
You can also do Spotify comments now. So that's something we discovered recently. What was the other thing? Yeah, as I said, we're going to do our bonus episode next week where we're going to talk about sort of drafting a super try team. So if you are a Patreon, you're listening, and you're going to get that in your ears. Why don't you either in the WhatsApp group, or you can comment on this. Even if you're not a Patreon, feel free to put down who you think you would like to see race in Super Try this year, and we can always factor that in as well. Jimbo, mate, I think we're pretty much done for this week. It has been a pleasure, as always. Are you're about to go start your day, so I hope it's a good one, and I think we'll be talking soon.
Cheerio.